Hi, everybody. It's been a kabillion years. No, but it's been like 5 weeks, I believe. I really meant to film while I was on vacation. But, yeah, that didn't happen. There was just no time. We were always busy doing stuff. And then when I did have some time, I wanted to spend it with my family. So sorry to my faithful followers that I did not make good on my promise to film while I was on vacation. I will give you a brief update of the vacation at the end. This is mostly going to be a haul video because I did a lot of shopping. But first things first, you will notice that I have much less hair than when you last saw me. I gotten chopped. My daughter had made an appointment to get her roots touched up. She dyes her hair black. And sorry, that eye roll is because I think her hair is a lovely natural brown. Although to me, she's a blonde, but she likes her hair black. Anyway, so when we went, I said to the stylist, hey, I didn't know she was making this appointment. Rather than sitting around for the whole 3 hours while she gets her hair dyed, could I get a haircut? And they fit me in, and so I like it. It's not like anything fancy, but it's just a lot shorter and lighter, and now I don't have to get my haircut again for another year because I don't pay for haircuts in Switzerland. All right, so let's see. I'll start with cross-stitching first. The big question everybody's wondering is, did I get the Christmas tree finished? No, I did not. But I got a lot done. And my sweet, wonderful mother, because she is a sweet, wonderful mother, I showed her how much I had gotten done, and she cried and was so thankful and thinks it looks beautiful, and just said, because I would have had to sacrifice time with her to get this done. And she didn't, naturally, neither one of us wanted that. So this is why. So I will show you what I did get done. Let's see if I can get this all in here. There we go. It's looking really good. It's so close. I love this pattern. So I got all the gold on both sides done on the plain, and I got a ton of the tree and the writing. I did a lot of the baubles, and I did the writing while I was at a dentist appointment for my son. I did the words. Yeah, I really like this pattern. I will finish it and then mail it to her, and she's already on the lookout for a big, nice frame. So, yeah, I had big goals, people, but if you don't make big goals, then you don't get anything achieved, right? Like if I had said it was no big deal, then I wouldn't have gotten nearly as much done on it as I did. That's how I'm trying to look at it, rather than being discouraged that I didn't meet the goal. But I felt like I had gotten enough done that I could work on a couple other things. So one of the other things I worked on was, hey, where is it? I thought I had everything right here. It is not here. Hold on a second. Where did that thing go? Oh, sorry, gotta. I couldn't find it in my project storage bag holder because there are too many other project bags in there. Not that I have a lot, but to me it's too much. All right. So I worked on some more of the Jane Eyre sampler. Let's see, I worked on the tree, which I totally messed up on, but then I decided it's supposed to be just like a wild raggedy tree, so who cares? So I did not frog it. I just left it. I think I did the fence on the... No, I did not do the fence. I think I had the fence done before I left. But I did the tree, this bit of the tree, and I did basically all this that's here. Using all my own colors, because I understand the original designer had, it's a free chart. I understand Little Stitch Girl, I think. No, not Little Stitch Girl, Little Stitcher. Hold on, it's on the pattern. Yeah, the Little Stitcher. She was going for like a very prim and kind of depressed thing because Jane Eyre had a sad life at Lowood. But I chose bright, happy colors because I think she would have wanted beautiful, lovely things in her life. She was always fascinated with the artwork in her uncle's books and loved those rich paintings. And after the crisis of everybody getting sick, they got a little nicer materials, and so I think they would have tried to get some colored thread in for the girls. So I went with colored thread. I'm using a lot of classic colorworks that I have, and I have to be honest, they're pretty, but they're not nearly as variegated as I would like for the price, you know? I mean, if you can get a DMC skein for 50 cents most places, 56 cents, and the variegated for less is $2.50, and there's barely, like in the here there's a little variegation, and everywhere, and in this flower there's a little variegation, and maybe in this green teeny tiny bit. That's not on, man. If I'm paying that much for variegation, I want it to be variegated. This is my feeling. This is my opinion. So I will just use up what I have, but I don't think I'll be investing anymore in variegated flosses. And then my final whip that I worked on vacation was, I picked this up. This is from my daughter. She was working on it, and she got kind of frustrated and stopped, but loves the design. And so I promised her I would finish it for her. And so this is her. If you know what it is, you're awesome and one of us. This is the TARDIS that Doctor Who flies through time and space in. And she had like this top part, One Direction stitch, these windows completely done, and then part of this One Direction, like one half of the cross stitch done. And I filled in all the dark blue, and now I am working on the light blue, and then I'll do the white for the windows, even though it's on white. This is a much bigger count of Aida cloth than I would normally use, but I chose it for her because it would have been easier. It was easier for her, but she still got a little frustrated, and that's fine. Cross-stitching is supposed to be relaxing and fun, so I told her just to stop and set it aside and wait for me, and I would finish it. So anyway, even though it's white, I will fill in the white so that it's nice and puffy like the rest of the design, and then I'll put it in a cute frame and give it to her for a sort of Christmas present. She watches my videos. She's one of my most avid commenters. She's awesome. Hi, Sarah. But I can still give it to her for Christmas. That's fine. Okay, so when I wasn't stitching, and when I wasn't with my family, or when we weren't eating out, or clothes shopping, or hiking in national parks, I went craft shopping. And we went to, I went to Hobby Lobby, I went to Michael's, I went to Joann. So I will, I also got to go to TJ Maxx. That was really fun. And we also went to Deseret Industries, which is like it's a thrift store like Goodwill that are in Utah. I went to 3 different one of those. And I have so much haul that I think I might break it down into some this video and some next video, because I want to talk about the trip too, and I don't want this to get too long. So, first of all, I picked up several pieces, well, 3 pieces of a white 18 count Ada. Now, I would have preferred even a 20 count, but they didn't sell a 20 count. At, where did I get these at? One Hobby Lobby and some at Joann, I think. Yeah, I don't remember. But anyway, I picked those up because I want to play around with dyeing. And I have some other Zweigart even weave that I bought, but I thought it would be fun to kind of play around on this. And this 18 count Ada cloth, when you stitch on it, you can't, excuse me, you can't really, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I bought those to mess around with. And then if I ruin them, it's not like my expensive Zweigart even weave. Do you know what I mean? So I figured I'd have more fun. And so, of course, if I'm going to dye, I picked up a bunch of RIT dyes. I got one that was a liquid, aquamarine, but due to weight limits, liquid limits in the suitcase, I opted for the purples, the powders, because they were easier to transport, smaller and lighter weight, and I could put them wherever. I ended up packing them in the big bag, but if I needed to put them on my carry-on, I could have. So I got these 4 colors and this aquamarine, and I could have sworn I thought I bought a gray, but maybe I talked myself out of it. That could very well be. Because I went shopping so often. But anyway, I thought those would be really fun to try. I also bought some E6000 because I'm going to try to make my own a few needle minders. I stitch in hand, so they're not super necessary, but it would be nice to have, so I have that, the metal backing that I put on my, what's supposed to be a tablet holder, or an iPad holder that you can use in the kitchen. I put my patterns on there, and it also would be nice to have some sort of a needle minder so that when I'm switching threads or whatever, I could just set the needle down, because right now I put it back into the cloth, sort of, but sometimes it doesn't always stay, or it kind of is bothersome, and sometimes I stick it in my mouth. And I used to never worry about it, but now I'm constantly worried that I'm going to and suck it in. I don't know why. Have I ever done that in my 51 years of life? No. But the older you get, the more weird stuff you worry about. So, yeah. But I bought the E6000 in these tiny little holders because several years ago, I bought a big tube of it. And after 3, I'm never going to use that much. And then it kind of got dried out and gloppy, and I had to toss it. And it was really frustrating. So I decided that these smaller ones would be much more manageable, because as long as I don't open them, the glue stays good. So that's what I did. And I found at TJ Maxx this adorable box, you guys. Now, I know it's supposed to be first aid, but here's the thing. This is the Swiss flag. They have the colors in the wrong direction, because the first aid, like the Red Cross, is white with a red cross. the guy did base it off the Swiss flag because he was from Switzerland. But this is Swiss colors, and I went, I must have this box. It is metal. I can attach Swiss cross stitch to it for Swiss National Day on August 1st. I could use it in the bathroom as a first aid box, even though I don't really need it. Mostly it's going to be for decoration. I just thought it was so fun, and it had to come home with me. And it has this great compartment so you can see all my E6000s and my fray check. And then you open it up, and there's more stuff in there, more containers. So I could fit like stitched patterns, like some of my, stuff that goes up for summer, July and August, holiday stuff in here to store it and then display it. And yes, this was packed completely full in the luggage because no space is wasted. So there's that. All right. Then I bought floss. Oh, did I buy floss? Now here's the thing. I originally was planning to go to Craft Center of Fine Stitchery and maybe Shepherd's Bush up in Ogden and look around and shop. I was in Salt Lake a few times and never got up to Ogden, and certainly was not going to go. I was never there when it was a time when we would have time to shop. And I said, I'm kind of down on paying extra for that variegated floss that is not variegated. So I just went ahead and decided to invest in a whole bunch of DMC. And by that I mean the first time I went to Joann and I decided that I was going to get all the 3000s. Every last skein. I ran out of time because I was trying to finish that Christmas cross stitch, the Christmas tree. So I did not make a list of all the ones I needed. But I know that that is like the most incomplete of my collection. So I went to Joann's and got every single 3000 that they had. And they were only out of like one or two, which is fantastic. And I apologized to the cashier, but fortunately when I went, there was nobody else in line. We were having a lovely little chat about me living in Switzerland and all the differences that I had noticed since I'd been gone and when I come back to the States. Excuse me, I need a drink. And my husband had dropped me off to go to Best Buy to buy a new monitor for our daughter who's in college. And a keyboard. And so he came in just as I was getting ready to pay, which meant he paid, which that's fine. My credit card, his credit card, the money all comes out of the same account. But he saw the total, and it was over $100 for pretty much. Well, I did buy the dye, and I did buy some fabric. But he was like, that's all you're buying, right? And I laughed and said, sure, if that's what you want to hear. Then I went to, did I say Joann's? I think, yeah. I can't remember. No, that was at Michael's. Then I went to Joann a few days later, and the floss was a few cents cheaper. And I decided that maybe I should buy the beginning numbers because like the 100s or the like teens, I don't have a whole lot of either. So then I bought all of those. And then I went to Walmart and it was even cheaper than Michael's or Joann. They didn't have as much of a selection, but I bought a little bit more of, what numbers did I get? I'm looking to try to see before I show you this mass craziness. I can't remember. Oh, yes, I bought a bunch of the 600s and 700s, I think. And, like variegated floss. Because you know what? DMC is up their game. And they have some really beautiful variegated floss that isn't weird colors, like 4 different random colors together. I don't like that kind of variegation usually. But like variegated of a green with actual several different, you can tell it has different colors. And I was like, this variegation I like. So I bought every one that they had that I thought that was not crazy colors. And I bought a few more étoiles because I really like those, especially for Christmas and Halloween. And I got some diamant, which could be horrible, but it was not expensive at all. Certainly cheaper than anything. I've never even seen it here. And I thought it would be fun to play around with. All right. And then, of course, I had bought, I think I did buy these at Michael's, the cases to hold them because I knew I was buying a lot of DMC. I was already, did not have enough space in the 2 containers I had here. So I bought 3 containers with and extra bobbins. And but look at how I've shoved that floss in there. This is for transport. It's just all shoved in those containers. Oh, there in the back you can see the diamants I got. And yes, I picked up a bunch of rickrack for finishing items as well. And glittery pumpkins at the dollar store for finishing. And more floss. Shoved in there. I do bobbinate. I know that for some people that is a bad word. I don't care about the kinks in my floss because when I cross stitch with it, you can't see the kinks. And when I work with it, it doesn't bother me in any way. And I'm very limited on space. And so bobbinating just works the best for me. And what I will do, my plan that I've been using ever since I got that big box of floss from my mother is I go to my 2 boxes that are bobbinated and look for numbers when I'm going to start a project. If it's not in there, I will look through then my backup. I have them divided in Ziploc bags by color. So like all the 400s together, all the 500s together, all the 600s together, all the 3000s together, which is why I knew what I was low on because of how big or empty the bag was. And if I find it in there, then I will bobbinate it for that project and then put it back in its spot in the already bobbinated one. So I'm not going to like spend the next straight 5 weeks bobbinating all this floss. I'll just bobbinate it as I need it. But it just makes my little cross stitch heart so happy to know that I have it. And these pumpkins, oh my gosh, they're so cute for Halloween. I also picked up this to finish Halloween stuff. I will not use it whole. I will be picking off these little things, but so cute. So I always see like Priscilla and Java Girl and all the adorable stuff they find, and I'm like, I have no access. So I was super happy that Halloween stuff was already out while I was there so I could get some, because they for surely do not have Halloween stuff here. And there was some July 4th stuff that I was on like a bargain, and I was so tempted to get some of it. But I didn't. I was proud of myself. And the reason why is because, again, my decorating for the summer is not just purely July 4th. It's also Canada Day and August 1st, which is Swiss National Day. And so I didn't want to overload on too much July 4th. However, one thing I did pick up, I will show the rest of my Deseret Industries haul in the next video, but I do need to show this thing because it is just too cute. Can you even? And look, they all open so you can put stuff in them. I doubt I will put stuff in them, but maybe I will. But oh, so cute. Yeah. So I was super happy to find this. I liked it very much. One of the days we took the kids to Barnes & Noble. That's another thing that they love to do. We are big readers. They love a good bookstore. And my husband came over to me so pleased as punch, and he's like, look what I found. So he bought me the cross-stitch Halloween issue, and I've flipped through it several times, and there are several that I will be making. I wouldn't want to buy it every year because I'm the type that it's like, once I have enough of a holiday, I have enough of that holiday, and like I'm over it. But I do like having the options. So I was glad I got that. And then when I was visiting my mother, she gave me the stack of all the rest of her cross-stitch books and magazines that she had. And I, due to the weight of them, could not bring over all of them. Half are still at my daughter's house that she will bring with her when she comes home for Christmas vacation. But I got a good healthy stack. And please don't be upset, everybody. But I will be going through and ripping out the patterns that I want to do, and then getting rid of the ones that I'm not going to. But I love this. And what was really fun is I found, okay, this magazine, the cover, this was one of the first bigger things that I ever cross-stitched. I did it on a dark blue, so it looked like it was in winter at night, because I wanted the white to show up more, and I'm still super happy with that decision. And I gave it to my then boyfriend's mother as a Christmas present. And when we broke up, I got back the Noah's Ark, but I did not get back that one. And that's okay, because I made it for her, and she loved it enough that she kept it. And look, here's the Noah's Ark. You've seen it in real life, but there's the pattern. So a few of these I might keep the whole, because it was just fun, the memory that I stitched it, but I don't really have the space, so I'm going to have to rethink that one. But then she also gave me, hold on here, let me get rid of some of these. I got a few stitching Stony Creek collections. They're like family samplers. Kind of dated, but then I figure I can change the colors and make it more timely. But then I've got two of the Leisure Arts books. So they're not all, this one especially is not all actual cross stitch. There's other ideas in it too, but they're really fun. I have a couple others of hers that she gave me as well last summer when I was there. So that was really, really fun. And I ordered some of these and some red buttons, and I thought I've all unpacked, but I can't find the red buttons, but it's been kind of a crazy time. Anyway, little white buttons that I ordered on Amazon I want to do more of the Lizzie Kate's Christmas rules for all my kids. The intention is when they each get married or move out of the house, I will make them their own set of those to decorate. And 1 2 3 Stitch, I called and asked them about buying the button packs for the patterns. And because there's like 3 buttons per design, right? Little tiny buttons. And she goes, oh yeah, they're $1 each. And I was like, that's fantastic. I will take 5 sets, please. And she goes, no, I mean like, and I was very grateful that she did this, because she wanted to confirm with me. Sorry, sitting on the floor is hurting my hip. Here we go. I'm not as young as I used to be. She wanted to confirm with me that I understood that it was $1 for the 3 buttons, not for the complete set of all the Christmas rules, but rather for the set of buttons that came with the 2 rule pattern. And I went, oh, that's not worth it. A whole $1 for like 3 tiny little buttons. So I went on Amazon and ordered myself some red and white ones. And I realize that some of them are slightly bigger, but I have so many red buttons. some of them from Laura Holt that can be substituted, and they work just fine. I know that because when I sewed my own, some of the buttons were missing. I don't know what happened, or were too small and didn't look right, didn't fit the pattern. And so I substituted my own, and it worked just fine. So those are backup for that. Okay, so I'm not going to show all my used frames and finishing items that I found at DI this video. I think I've said that before. But I will show you the stuff I found at Hobby Lobby, because I had a good time at Hobby Lobby. I went with my daughter, and it was very fun. One of the first things I found was this metal frame with this little hook. And this appeals to my clean lines, black that I have in my, most of my furniture is a dark black in our living room. We have like white couches, but then like the sideboard and the cushions on the dining room chairs are black. And I can put one of those monthly things that changes all the time in here. Flat finish it, and then hang it up and be done. Clip it in and then clip it back out. So I thought that was fantastic. Then these were on clearance. I think these might have even been at Michael's. Frames for finishing. They have the hanger already. I like the wood, and this pops out because it's like rubber. It's not actually wood, it's fake. And then you just put it in and you're done. So 2 little hoops, especially for finishing. Then I got a slightly bigger wood hoop that I'm going to wrap with ribbon for the Mary wreath that I did from, it was a free pattern from, pretty sure it was Hands On Design last year. I stitched that, and I had some wooden frames, but they're all too big, and I didn't like how much white space they were leaving around the finished design, so I bought this frame, and I'm hoping it's small enough. I didn't measure anything. I was just randomly grabbing stuff that looked good. Okay, then there's this wooden frame that I liked, that it was slightly inset so I could push something in, and if it fit tight enough, then I wouldn't have to glue anything, and I could replace it as I changed my mind. And I could either leave it this or paint it a color. So I liked that. This was a frame that was marked down. It was originally $25 with no glass or anything, and I got it for $6. And it's a nice black frame, and I prefer, some of my stuff has glass in it, but I'm fine with no glass as well. So this was great. This was another thing which I thought was a good size. I like that it comes with hangers already attached to hang it permanently. Of course, I'm not going to keep the saying, but I like that I could paint this and white or whatever color I wanted, and still have the little shiplap looking stuff here, and I could turn it this way if I wanted, and then inset something on here, mount that in there. And then this I found at Walmart. Yeah, and it's metal and magnetic, so that I can put stuff on it and then take it off, change it out very easily. I really like the shape. I would have preferred even something that's slightly smaller, but I just think this was fantastic. And it was pretty lightweight, even though it's sturdy. So that was some good framing stuff. Then a couple other things I found. I think they're supposed to be like chalkboardy, but then this one is like not chalkboardy, but you can decorate them. But I decided that they would be really cute as either a pattern to cut out something that was star-shaped, or to put something round in the middle for 1st of August or July 4th or Christmas. I just like that star shape. It was a good size, And so I got 2 of those and then 2 round ones. Again, because round stuff is always, always, always hard to find. And I thought this would be good for that. And I don't even know exactly what they are. It says it's micro pack enhanced PE sheets. I don't know what that is. I just know it's a circle shape and a star shape. And I wanted them, so I got them. All right. We're at 35 minutes, so I'm going to give you a quick trip highlight. My husband ended up having to work for quite a bit of the time. My daughter, for the first 2 weeks we were there, still had her job at Wendy's that she was working. So there was a lot of hanging around in the morning until like 3 in the afternoon when they were both finally off work before we could do something, which also cut down our time to do activities. But that's what I used that time then to either sleep because I was recovering from jet lag, or I would cross stitch on the Christmas tree. We went to Goblin Valley, Arches National Park, and hiked to Delicate Arch. And we went to Zion and did Angel's Landing hike, the Parousse Trail, and Canyon Overlook Trail. Well, I did all 3 of those with my son. Everybody else who came did the Angel's Landing and or the Canyon Overlook. Not everybody did everything, but my son and I did. That was wonderful. It was hot, but it was not as bad as I thought it would be. Goblin Valley, we got there in the evening. We watched the sunset, so that it was warm, but it was not horribly hot. And there was one other family of like 2 little kids and a parents and a grandpa who were there. That was it. So we got the place to ourselves, pretty much. It was lovely. Absolutely lovely. And it shaded because, again, the sun was going down over the mountains, so not blazing hot. We climbed and hiked all over all the little different ones and found a bunch of fun stuff and pathways through, and it took a bunch of photos. It was a very enjoyable time. Arches, we got a late start. Sorry, my phone was telling me it's about to die, but it'll be fine. We got a late start, and we didn't start hiking to Delicate Arch until 11:30. We did have plenty of water. We did have hats. What saved us from completely dying from heat exhaustion was that there was a very strong wind. And the wind kept the temperature down. It also blew sand into our eyes and onto our bare legs, which hurt, but it kept us from overheating. I'm just going to reach over here and plug in my phone just in case. Sorry. Picture of my thumb up close. Don't try to copy my fingerprint. I don't even know if that's a thing. And it was amazing. My kids really, so it was my oldest 2, my oldest son, my oldest daughter, and then my other son came. The other 2 girls did not want to hike, and that was fine. We left them at the motel, so they were happy, and we didn't have to listen to them whine, so it worked out perfectly. They really wanted to go see what's on the Utah license plates because the arch is on there. And it looks completely different than in the painting, obviously, because it looks like it's all by itself, but actually there's all these cliffs and stuff behind it. And there's like a sheer drop off behind that thing. So when we got to the top, we were at this like little ledge. There's like this little wall, naturally shaped wall, and you hike over that, and then you can walk over this flat area that kind of slopes to the actual arch. It was so windy that I was like, I don't want to, I have a fear of heights anyway. And what that does is I can stand up and look down far. That doesn't scare me. But walking or moving, and then I'm like, I get this fear of falling off the height and I freeze. Like my muscles just all freeze, lock, and I can't move. And people will be like, just put your foot here. And I'm like, you don't understand. I can't move my foot. And the only person who can calm me down is my husband. He has the most calm, gentle manner. And he'll just hold my hand and be like, okay, look, honey. And he'll kind of put his arm like on my leg or his hand on my leg. And then I can like, okay, it relaxes me enough that my muscles stop locking and he'll put it right here. Okay, right here. And he's got a hold of me the whole time and he's tall and strong. So I know he can catch me and protect me if something happens. So then I can move. But I just didn't want to risk that. I wanted to make it enjoyable for everybody else. So I just stayed and watched them all walk to the actual arch. But I couldn't watch them walk because I was like, I don't want to watch you fall to your death. I'll just listen for the screams. So I literally turned my back. And then after I had waited what seemed like a good enough while, I peeked over and I could see that they were pretty much there. And it was like they were waiting their turn to go up to the arch to take their photo. So then I turned back around and watched that. And I was so happy to see that my oldest son walked to the arch, one side of it, and then slowly sat down. And I was like, oh, good. He's being so safe. Thank you, Nicholas. But the other two stood right in the middle and were like waving around while my husband took pictures. And they come back and they're like, yeah, Mom, there's like this total drop off. Like if we had stepped a few feet back further, you would die. And so then that freaked me out. But then, of course, we're kind of morbid and weird. So we had to look up how many people have died at Delicate Arch. There's been a couple since 2004, I think. 3 people have died. 2 were old men who backed up too far trying to take a photo and died. I think that was the story. And one was like somebody, heat exhaustion or something, died. So we get back down and I see this older couple who are not in great shape. It's now, 2 in the afternoon, so super hot, even with the wind blowing. And the lady was carrying one little tiny, like half liter, I don't know, like 12-ounce bottle of water. The dude had nothing. And I'm like, oh, you're going to be on the news tonight. I didn't say anything to him out loud, but I was just thinking, yeah. And there's all these warnings at the start of the trail. Don't go on here. It's a strenuous hike and it's hard. And don't hike between noon and 4, which we did. But we didn't die because of the wind. If it had been a regular day without the wind, we would have had to just turn around and go back because it wouldn't have been safe. But it was very satisfying to go home and take a nice shower and then sit in the car. And we drove from Green River then to St. George to visit my parents. And then while we were in St. George, part of the time we stayed in St. George at this very nice vacation condo with lots of pools. We went swimming and then would visit my parents. And then some of the time we stayed in my friend's father's house, his vacation house in Springdale, which is the little tiny town right at the entrance to Zion. And her great-great-great-great-grandfather, something like that, Albert Petty, was the first settler, and his wife named Springdale. And so my friend's dad, who's like his great-great-grandson or whatever, great-great-great, decided he needed to own a piece of land in Springdale because that's where his, family settled very first. So we got to stay there in his house. And that was fantastic because we didn't have to pay for parking to get on the shuttle into Zion because, of course, it's summer, and so the parking lot fills up so fast. We just walked from his house to the shuttle stop. It's like 5-minute walk. We got up very early. We were out of the house by 7:30. We were in Zion hiking by 8:30. We did Angel's Landing. Now, we did not, when I say Angel's Landing, there's one hike that either takes you to Scout Overlook, or you can then continue on a little bit further up to the very top of Angel's Landing. But that little bit further is really not very far, but it's very steep, and you have to hike holding onto a chain that is embedded to the rock. Now, even though we got there by 10:30, that was already starting to be peak travel time. And there's only one way to go up and down. People are going the same, two directions in the same spot that's very narrow. So one group has to let go of the chain that's keeping you from falling to your death because it's super narrow rock with sheer drop on both sides, to let the other group down. Kind of like Mount Everest. People die from the traffic jams up on the top of Mount Everest. Well, 13 people have died since, 13 people have died since 2009 hiking Angel's Landing. No, since 2014. Yeah, 13 people, I think it was that. Look, there was a sign, and it had where the number was, where they can write how many people had died, was like erasable. Good sign. Not a good sign. So my son Noah and my husband, they decided that they wanted to go try the chain part. But me and Nicholas, with our fear of heights, were like, I had never planned to hike that. I wasn't going to. The view from where we were was just as lovely and less terrifying. So we sat, and all the little chipmunks and a big giant fat squirrel came and said hello to us, and they were very adorable, and watched them hike it. And they only went up part of the way and decided it was too risky with all the people and not worth it. And so they came right back, which I was very happy about. And then we hiked back down. Then the next morning, so that afternoon, my son and I were like, we want to hike some more in Zion. And when you go, you buy this pass that's good for like 7 days. And all you do is show your receipt. So he and I got up early the next morning. My husband drove us right to the Zion Park entrance, where we walked right in. And we did the Parouche Trail, which is along the Virgin River. It's totally flat, and it's beautiful. We saw so many animals and beautiful flowers, desert cactus flowers. And we were there early enough that we were in shade most of the way. Just a little bit on the way back, the sun started coming up over the mountain and put us in full daylight. But we were already on our way back. And we saw people, it's completely flat, it's wheelchair friendly. We saw a lot of bike riders, but he and I decided that the only reason we had seen most of the wildlife that we had seen was because we were walking, and we were going slow enough that this thing that looked like maybe it was a log, we watched it the entire time, and then all of a sudden it moved, and we were like, oh, that is a bird. Or, oh, that's the little lizard. Look. Until we'd watch the little lizard, and we saw the deer, and we saw some other birds, and it was really nice. And he's a great hiking companion. We had a nice chat. There's several spots where you can go actually down to the river, but currently they're having some sort of poisonous algae infestation, so they warned about not going in the actual river. Normal circumstances you could. But that was fine. We just walked to the river, didn't touch it, took photos, and enjoyed the scenery, and then went back up onto the trail and walked a little farther. So that was really lovely. There was 2 ladies out there painting some of the landscape. Gorgeous. And then we got back, and that afternoon, we showered, we changed, we put on like sandals, because my husband said, hey, I want to do the tunnel drive, where you go through that big tunnel that they blasted through the rock in Zion in the 1930s. Well, they did it in the 1920s. It was finished in the 1930s. And drive through that, and there's this place called Canyon Overlook. And he's like, it's like a 5-minute walk. It's right off the road. And we said, okay. So me and Nick get back in, and Sarah, my daughter, get in, and we're literally, all 3 of us are wearing sandals. And we had plenty of water so we could drink in the car. And the drive through the tunnel was really cool. And, you see every time we went, we saw a different part of the park. That was really fun. We got lucky. We found a parking spot right there. There's only like 8 spots, and somebody was leaving just as we pulled up. So we got lucky, pulled in, and we left our backpack full of water and all our hats in the car because it was just going to be a few minutes. No. It was a mile hike, which is not far, but it's not 5 minutes. And it was all in the sun. And we did not have the appropriate footwear. Fortunately, our sandals they were not flip-flops. They were like there was a strap across my toes and a strap that went all around my ankles. All of us had those, which is why I even allowed us to attempt it. And we got partway, and my husband and my daughter were like, should we keep going? And I said, look, here's the thing. I feel fine, and I'm the worst of all of us. And it's a mile total, so it's like half a mile there. So it was strenuous because it was steep uphill most of the way, and there was a few spots where you could have fallen to your death because there was no rail. And it was a thin ledge that you had to walk across, but just a couple spots. But there were little kids on this trail, and I'm like, I am so competitive. I'm not going to be beaten by little kids. So we continued on, and the view was amazing, absolutely amazing. There was a little cave that was completely in shadow. We rested on our way up, and we rested on our way down in there. We got back to the car, and we each chugged like a full bottle of water in 10 seconds. And I'm really glad we did that as well. Would have been better had we been completely prepared, but it was still nice. But as we get to the bottom of the like sandstone stairs that they carved out at the very beginning of the trail, there was a woman there who was a little bit older than I was, looked very in shape, but she was wearing flip-flops. And I stopped and I said, ma'am, you don't know me, but I'm sorry. I cannot recommend you go on this hike in those flip-flops. I said, we barely made it. My husband slipped a couple of times in his old non-stick grid tennis shoes, and we were in these sandals, and we were pushing it for being properly outfitted. I said, you will slip, or you will have to just take off your flip-flops and walk barefoot on the hot rock. And she goes, yeah, I was already kind of thinking that I shouldn't go, because she was there with her son and looked like daughter-in-law and their 3 kids. And the son kind of was like, oh yeah, because you don't want to take grandma on a hiking trip and then kill her. So I was very relieved to see that she followed behind us and went back to the car. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I know it's going to be hot and whatever, but I could sleep better knowing that I had helped prevent a death. So that was Zion, and that was lovely. We had thought we would go to Las Vegas for the day, but then we were kind of tired of being in the car because we had driven so much from Orem down to Goblin Valley and Arches, and then down to St. George, and then every day back and forth from Springdale into St. George to visit my parents, which was a good half an hour, 40 minutes each way. And my daughter, it turned out, she wanted to go to Las Vegas at night, and we were like, we're not getting a hotel room, and we don't, like, we'll go and stay till maybe 10, but then we got to get home. And she went, no, I don't want to. And I think she was kind of tired of being in the car, or she was just, she was just accepting of her fate. I don't know. But we didn't end up going, and I was really glad. So the parks, the national parks, were probably the highlight for me. And now there are several places we want to go back to. And I would love to hike in Zion in the fall. I think that would be absolutely beautiful and cooler, and probably see even more wildlife than we saw. I went to, we had a family reunion. Oh, my mother and my mother-in-law loved their quilts. My daughter loved her quilt. It was a little embarrassing because my mother-in-law was like bragging to everyone about the quilt, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, I was like, I had mixed feelings about, like, I made it because I had leftover pieces after I'd made my mom's, and it seemed like a jerk move not to make one for my mother-in-law, and I like to sew. But it wasn't like, I think she took it as sort of, had more meaning behind it than it really did. But oh well, I'll worry about that when it comes. If I haven't mentioned, my mother-in-law and I've had been no contact with her for like 7 years. But I made her this quilt, and I was happy to give it to her, and she hugged me, and I hugged her back. But it's not like anything is fixed or resolved. It's just, I just wanted to show her, I'm not angry at you. I just can't have you in my life because you cause too many problems. So, I don't know. But she loved it. She really, really loved it. So it made me happy that I made it for her. My mother took her quilt to work and showed it off to all her friends. And somebody said, can she make me one? And my mom said, I don't think so. She doesn't love you like she loves me. And I laughed and went, yeah. So that was great. I had a great time with my brother Danny and his kids and his wife. That was really lovely. We stayed with them for a couple of days. Really, really fun. Met up with another brother one day and another brother another day, just for a few hours, which is not enough. But if that's, that's all they can give me, then I'll take what I can get. Yeah, overall, it was a hard trip because there was a lot of things that we couldn't do that we wanted to, but it was a good trip because there were some nice highlights, and oh, did we eat so much delicious food. So that was also a plus. I gained a couple of pounds, and I know my husband did, and we've been trying to eat like spinach green smoothies and lots of salad and stuff since we've been back to try to balance that out again. Anyway, so yeah, it was, I feel like even though I didn't get to those cross-stitch stores, I'm totally made out. I have a bunch of fun new stuff. My son, Surprise, who was supposed to be there for the next 2 years completing high school, ended up coming home with us. The family he was living with, decided not to have him live with them anymore, which is their right. We just wish maybe we had gotten more than a week's notice. But he's home now, and we're going to enroll him in online school, and hopefully we can then, in the meantime, find another family who will be willing to take him for the whole 2 years, because he'd really like to go to in-person school in America, in Utah. And so I had to move my some of my cross stitch. Some of my stuff is still in his bedroom, but you will see behind me, those are my holders for some cross stitch stuff. And here is a bunch of my cross stitch stuff in my bedroom. And then my chair is like right there, behind the camera, with my light, so I can stitch in here temporarily until we find another place for him. So that's fine. I really missed him. He's my kid who's the cuddler. He likes to hang out with, he was like my little shadow. He just liked to be around me. He talked to me all the time. He's super funny. And so I really, really missed him. So although I'm frustrated that it didn't work out for him and how it was handled, I'm happy to have him home. I'm really happy to have him home. So, yeah. I saw that I got a few new subscribers while I was gone. Lost a few too. But I think that's pretty normal. That's kind of how YouTube goes. So, to whomever I have not offended, thank you so much for coming and staying and subscribing and liking. And I so enjoy this community. Like I said, there's nobody really else nearby. Dawn is in Basel, and I'm hoping to meet up with her sometime. But even that's a good hour away. So it's too far to just randomly get together on a whim. But this helps me talk about all my stuff, and my family doesn't have to listen to it. And I love reading all your comments, and so many people are so supportive. So thank you very much. If you're new, thank you. And if you just found me randomly, please like and subscribe if you seem like you want to hang out with me. Normally my videos are not this long, but normally I don't not film for a whole 5 weeks and go on a major vacation. Usually I film every 2 weeks, and I try to keep it about 30, 40 minutes. So anyway, there's that. Thank you so much. Should I say the date? It's August 22nd. Yes, August 22nd, to 2021. All right, I better stop because clearly I'm just messing up now. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.